So I promised myself 12 months ago that I wouldn't drink again.
G'day, what's up? Welcome to Still Not Drunk, the podcast about drinking hosted by a comedian who doesn't drink. That's me. Hello, I'm Aidan Jones. And today on the podcast, we got Anna Beros. Very exciting. A good mate of mine from Melbourne, lives in Berlin. Great comic. Going to talk to her. I mean, I already did talk to her, but you're going to listen to me talking to her. We had a sick chat. I hope you guys are good. Thank you for tuning back in. This is episode 6 of the pod, man. I'm feeling all right, to be honest. I'm in Reykjavik, Iceland right now. Reykjavik in goddamn Iceland, in the Airbnb. The other two dudes that I'm sharing the Airbnb with are out. We're here for the Fringe. And, man, it's actually interesting that I talked to Anna and that's this week's episode because of where I'm at this week. I'm here in Reykjavik doing the Fringe Festival. And, I'll completely level with you. I'm not selling a lot of tickets. Me and the other guys in here have been laughing about how few tickets. I've sold 3. I've got 2 shows, Saturday and Sunday. I've sold 3. One of the other guys has sold 4. And then the other dude has either sold none or sold way more than either of us because he hasn't said. So maybe he's being polite or maybe he's even more ashamed than we are. But I mean, you know, what this festival is not so much I'm kind of, I've been thinking a lot about the way that I approach comedy and touring and whatever, because I've always said yes to stuff like this, but I'm at a point now where I'm like, I want to make money. I want to try and actually do things that are going to put me in a good, stable financial position. So maybe saying yes to stuff like this is, you know, it's kind of dumb because I'm coming here. I've spent a lot of money to be here. Reykjavik is so expensive because it's a rock in the middle of the ocean. So anything that they want to get here, they've got to get it here. You can't grow stuff. It's literally a rock. But I guess I'm just kind of rethinking my whole approach and should I say yes to stuff like this? Or if I want to come to Reykjavik, maybe I should just come to Reykjavik rather than putting these shows on and then adding the pressure of now having to sell tickets on top of the fact that I'm in this expensive place. If I didn't have the shows on, maybe I would just be able to enjoy it more. But Anna Beros is someone who is in a similar situation to me. She grew up in Melbourne. She left. She's lived in Berlin for 7 years. And we talked about that, actually. We talked about how she had not been home for such a long time, especially with the pandemic and everything like that. And she's someone who has just quit drinking a few years ago. Was it a few years ago? Oh, it might have been, no, sorry. I think it might have been in the last year. It was in the last year. She's quit drinking. And she's in her 30s, and she's made a deal with herself that she's not going to start drinking again until she either has an agent or has a baby. She wants to have a kid or an agent in comedy. She wants to be making enough money in stand-up. So she's kind of asking herself similar questions to me in the sense of she doesn't feel like she was where she wants to be stability-wise in her life and career-wise and everything like that. And the way she put it was that drinking to not drink at the moment, she doesn't have anyone to be accountable for. She doesn't have a kid or a family. She's not in I don't know. I think she's in a few. You know what? I'm not going to comment on her relationships. How about that, Aidan? So yeah, she in terms of her personal life, she wants to have a kid. She's not there yet. And professionally, she wants to get an agent. She tours a bit around Europe and puts on her own shows in Berlin. But again, I think she's not quite where she wants to be. And I think the way she put it was that her drinking, if she doesn't have anyone in her family or professionally to be accountable to, then she'll just drink because she doesn't have, any responsibilities in terms of an agent who she's made commitments to or a kid that she has to look after. So she's found that that's kind of dangerous because if she's got no one to be responsible to, then she'll be irresponsible. So she's quit drinking until she has someone to be responsible to, hoping that will, help her rein the drinking in. So she's made this kind of deal with herself, and it was really interesting to talk to her about that. Yeah, I guess we're both in a kind of position in our lives where we're not quite where we want to be yet, and we're looking at it and going, maybe drinking is a part of that, and it's something that I want to that I want to think about and change. The drink that we drank this week was the Negroni Spritz from Higher Spirits, which I just, man, so sick. I just had a quick read. So when we were doing the episode, we talked about the nootropics that are in this drink. The drink was lovely. On the website, I just read a broadsheet article. This guy's got a bunch of different brands, alcohol-free brands. He's been sober himself for, I think it was 7-8 years. And again, I mean, that was a family-based decision, judging by the story that he said in this article. But this Higher Spirits, it looks like they're trying to move towards having ingredients in the drink that affect you, that aren't like drugs and that are legal, but like it's not alcohol, it's not that kind of effect, but it's like increased brain function or whatever. And I mean, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion one way or another about that. But something that I thought was interesting on the front page of the website, or maybe it was in the media section, there was a little post about how psilocybin has been made legal in Australia for therapeutic use. And it's one of the first countries in the world to legalize that. And I guess, you know, it just made me think about the name Higher Spirits and where they're going with that. If they're celebrating psilocybin being in a drink, maybe they're looking at moving into that space at some point, if that becomes legal in Australia, to start substituting alcoholic drinks with drinks that might have drugs in them but used in a kind of therapeutic sense. So I think that's really cool and interesting. And you know what? Interviewing people in the alcohol-free drinks community and industry is somewhere that I really want to take this podcast. And that's a little teaser that in the future, maybe not in the next month, but in a couple months' time, hopefully, gonna have some interviews coming out with people who are making alcohol-free drinks that I'm very excited about, because I just want to hear people's stories around it. And I think that's somewhere that I'm really excited for this pod to go. So, yeah, this is the interview with Anna Beros. We also talked about her family. We talked about her family's culture of drinking. We talked about her relationship with her dad, which is I love that shit, man. Talk to me about your dad all fucking day. And yeah, we just had a great chat, dude. This is someone who I feel like, kindred spirit is maybe a very strong word, but I feel like Anna and I see the world in a very similar way, and we're kind of on a similar path in terms of stand-up, in terms of drinking, in terms of maybe not being 100% happy with where we're at and trying to work on ourselves and get to that place. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying to you from Reykjavik, Iceland right now, with 3 sales for my shows this weekend. Oh, God. I'm trying to enjoy Reykjavik, man. It's a beautiful place. I'm excited to explore. I got in yesterday. I'm still jet lagged. It's whatever. You guys, I'm so excited to introduce our guest for this week, Anna Beros. Thank you very much again for listening. If you're liking it. Oh, by the way, oh my God, I almost forgot a shout out to our sponsor, anadrinks.com.au. Of course, supplied the drinks and supply all the drinks for all the episodes. And just the best place in Australia to go if you're looking for alcohol-free drinks. They ship all over the country. They got the best prices, the best range, everything. So hit them up, anadrinks.com.au for everything you need. And with that, now I'm introducing to you, please enjoy my chat with great comedian and good friend, Anna Beros. I'm Aidan Jones, and here with me is Anna Beros. G'day, mate.
G'day.
How are you?
So good.
We just recorded a podcast before this, so we've been hanging out for fucking ages.
So long.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this, mate. I appreciate it. You're just in Melbourne quickly.
I am. Actually, not that quickly, but yes. 3 weeks from Berlin.
Staying with your mum.
Staying with my bro.
I'm staying with your bro.
And my parents are also staying with my bro.
But you're hanging out with your mum.
And yeah, hanging out with
your
everyone.
Parents are staying with your bro.
Yeah.
Because you were saying before that your mum and her partner moved to London.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not live back here yet?
They have moved back. They've just bought a house, but they're still living with my brother.
Oh, that's crazy. Man, imagine being at a point in your life when you can accommodate your parents living with you.
Well, they have 4 children as well.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
They're crushing it, dude.
Yeah, he's doing
They got 4 kids and now 2 adult kids.
2 adult kids.
As well.
Yeah. And then me as well, sleeping in my nephew's
in your brother's place.
Mm-hmm.
dude.
But they don't own it.
Yeah, but he's look at you trying to get a little. He's crushing it, this guy, man.
I think so. My parents are still like, well, they're still renting.
Wow.
No, they're not like that, but they feel like that.
Older or younger brother?
Older.
How much older?
5 years.
5 years. So he's 86.
Yeah, 86. Fuck you, Aidan. You found out my actual age today. You
I
was
did.
Younger.
No, yeah, you're 36. I thought we were like the same age.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you would be 32 like me.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Melbourne.
Yeah.
That's nice. How was that?
That was good. I've spent when I've caught up with friends here this time, spent so much time going around and being like, oh, that bar used to be that bar, and that club, oh my god, that's a laundromat now, and
totally
just doing that whole thing of living the history of the city and how much it's changed.
That's funny to be doing that with friends who still live in the city, because that just means that their lives are now very much confined to their houses.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
And so many people are like, I just don't go out that much anymore, Anna.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you a good time, but, everything kind of closes at like 1:30. And then, ending up at the Peel or Circuit or whatever. And it's like, oh, nothing's changed. Actually.
Yeah. It's still the same stuff. So what, are your friends like having kids and shit? Is that the vibe?
Most of the friends that I've got, starting to talk about kids or still thinking about moving overseas, or they've left Melbourne, had kids, gone somewhere else.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That is this how you know those people from drinking days?
From drinking days, yeah.
From
Most of my
days.
friends are from connections of ex-boyfriends or ex-colleagues from bars.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
You grew up in Melbourne. Hey, where did you say you grew up again? I forgot.
I grew up in Brighton.
Oh, Brighton, that's right. That is right, man.
Elstonwick,
that's so funny. Brighton, for those not in Melbourne, Brighton is... there's a comedian, very funny comic called Tess Birch from Brighton, and the one thing that she's still like fairly new, but she's doing really well. But the one thing that I think at times lets her down is she will do jokes about Brighton as if everyone knows. And that is Brighton.
That is so
to
Brighton,
a T.
Isn't it?
She's like, oh, like me and my friends, like we're from Brighton, and like it's the most Brighton thing ever. And I'm like, mate, we're in Fitzroy. Everyone here is from Dublin. Totally,
or
like whatever.
Or fucking Albury or
yeah.
Like no one. But Brighton, it's just I used to be embarrassed about growing up in Brighton, but I've lived all around Melbourne, so it's like I may have gone to school. Like I lived there, but I was going to school in Elstonwick. I was in Windsor, and then I've lived all over the north and whatever.
You have the vibe of someone who grew up outside of Melbourne and moved to Melbourne. I feel like when people think about Melbourne, most of the people who embody that, like, inner north hipstery kind of thing didn't actually grow up in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the people who grew up, like if you grew up, it took me a long time to realize this being from Adelaide. When I moved to Melbourne, I lived in Richmond, I've lived in Footscray, North Melbourne, Brunswick, Coburg. All pretty inner north except for Richmond, which still arguably, and like North Richmond, like Abbotsford.
Oh, well, North Richmond's the shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. Like you can feel like a minority there.
North Richmond is where I learned how to use chopsticks.
Exactly, right? And how to do heroin probably,
But it took me a long time to realize that there's this whole eastern suburbs of Melbourne and like past Brighton and shit like Moorabbin and the Dandenongs and Lilydale and all of that. It's sprawl, and it's a whole different vibe.
Oh, yeah. And then out west as well.
Yeah.
West, all of that area. Like my first boyfriend was in it was in Altona.
Altona,
so
sure.
I travel from like Brighton to Altona to like get drunk in his backyard.
Nice.
My first job was in Ormond, which is like Moorabbin Way.
Yep.
Ormond KFC.
On Top Bar in Ormond. Do you know that bar? Do you remember that bar?
On Top Bar in Ormond. No.
I did one of my first ever gigs in Melbourne at On Top Bar. I met to this day a dear friend Blake Freeman out there in like 2014. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, to be honest.
But yeah, I guess I don't know. Like the thing is, I left Melbourne to go to Berlin, and people like Andrew Patelli was saying like that's the most Melbourne thing you could do. Yeah,
totally. Wait, move the mic up a little bit. I'm sorry, that mic's kind of shit.
Okay, I was worried I was going to be like bumping.
Nah, you're all G. If anything, I'm going to be clipping the fuck out of this.
Okay, all right. So, I'm gonna keep it on my chin.
Eat it, bro.
Tea back.
Yep.
Pain.
Sure.
Yeah. I have to make it sexual at some point, don't I? Anna.
What we're going to do today, mate, is on this podcast, we talk loosely about drinking, and then we're going to drink an alcohol-free drink because I don't drink anymore. But I'm trying to still hold on to the coolness, you know? I'm like, hey, man, I'm still cool. Like, I got all these things.
I don't drink anymore either.
You don't drink anymore?
I don't drink anymore.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get into it, dude.
Yeah, right. Like in December when we saw each other, or was it January? Yeah, January 1st, 2023, we saw each other, and I just decided to stop drinking and not drink for at least the year, but I'm saying I'm not drinking until I have a baby or I have a manager.
Wow. That's a wild, okay. What do you reckon of those is coming first? We just talked on the other podcast about your travails around having children and whatever.
Yeah.
Or having a manager. Do people have managers? And you're a comic, for those people who don't know, Anna, great comic based out of Berlin, and there's a burgeoning English language comedy scene all through Europe, but it's still pretty DIY.
It's still very DIY.
Do people have managers?
Yeah, well, some people in the German scene, yes.
Yeah.
And in different fields, like more adjacent fields like film, acting, people have agents or managers.
Which is like more established films. Established fields.
Fields, absolutely. Yeah. But most people are still self-produced. Probably the most successful Europe comedian, Dragos, one of my good friends, chef Dragos, he's considering getting an agent, but like you pay them, you know, like they take a cut. So the thing is, because we can still find our own venues and self-produce pretty easily, why let someone else take the money?
Totally.
You've got to really see a huge gain from it. So but I would like that. I would like someone to be booking my shows.
Sooner or later, someone's going to see all the money that's getting made out there and figure out a way to streamline that.
Exactly. Yeah. So just like a booking, like a booker.
Yeah.
You know, if I get a booker, then I'll start drinking again.
Nice. If I reach a point where I feel safe in my career, I'll do my best to try and destroy it.
Look, that's one way to spin it. I'd say
that's a pretty
it's a pretty
negative way to spin
it. But you could see it like that. I also think it's like if I've got someone booking me gigs, then I've got someone to answer to. Right now, I'm a one woman, a one person business doing all the aspects of my business. If I drink, I lose time, productivity. But if I've got someone booking my shows, that means, this person's doing that for me. I've got a show tomorrow. I got a radio, I got a whatever. I have to only have, I can hang out, but I'll just have one glass of wine and go.
Right. You can let yourself off the hook if you're drinking and you don't have anyone to answer to, you'll let yourself off the hook and not do that work. Whereas if someone else is doing it for you, you're accountable.
Boom.
Right.
Same with the baby.
That's cool. I like that. Same with a baby. Your baby's booking your gigs. Your baby's booking your radio. I got to do radio because fucking Scooter, or I don't know what you name your kid.
Scooter or Scooter? No, I know the name. My first
old High Five Beros.
High Five Beros. Yeah, fuck
High Five's a pretty cool name.
T-Bar. I don't know.
T-Bar
Beros.
Man. But so I got you a drink here. We've got these alcohol-free drinks that we drink through the pod. Talk about them a little bit. This is Negroni Spritz from Higher. I've never tried this. At this point, though, want to do a shout-out to the sponsor, A&A Drinks. They are the best place to find all your alcohol-free drinks. They ship all over Australia. If you go to anadrinks.com.au, you can find whatever you want there, alcohol-free. Isn't that cool?
Cheers,
bruh. Okay. Yeah, let's give it a crack. Yeah. Thoughts?
How ASMR do you want to get this?
Oh, yeah, we could do that. Yeah. Like, you know what? I don't want to edit this podcast, but I feel like that's something that just needs to be edited, doesn't it?
Like,
that's a nightmare sound.
I don't know. Maybe it's beautiful.
Yeah. Am I going for the ASMR crowd? I didn't consider that. Right. I still haven't thought about the marketing of this podcast so much. I thought I would just market it to degenerates and people who are quitting drinking, but you're doing it right now. Fuck.
You can't not. Come on, you're consuming something on a podcast.
I'm glad you've got the quiet mic now.
I'll get it in there. What I wanted to ask. So, Higher is the maker of the make of this. Mm-hmm. They make other drinks, not just Negronis.
I would say so. I don't know. To be honest, I should have done some research on this. I literally just picked it up and and grabbed it. You know what? I thought it would be cool because it's non-alcoholic cocktail with nootropics.
What's nootropics?
I don't know if you ever used to listen to Joe Rogan, but I did back in the day.
I did by accident because the guy that got me into comedy lived with my ex-boyfriend and he would watch it.
Yeah, he would watch it.
He would watch it.
Full hardcore,
yeah.
So Rogan always would talk about nootropics. I talk about him like he's dead now. He used to have is On It, which was like his health supplement brand, and he's always like, it's got nootropics. It's like brain shit. I don't fucking know.
Nootropics. Like who named it? It sounds like nootropics.
I think it's just like you know what?
Nootropics.
I have no idea what it is. I was about to try and fudge my way through it. I was trying to be like, I think it's like that brain shit. I don't know. I don't know what nootropics are.
So it's some kind of additive, like supplements.
I'll read the back of this, right? Blood orange, passion flower, and ashwagandha.
I feel like I need to assist you in
ashwagandha.
Yeah, ashwagandha.
Yep, a transcendentally delicious alcohol-free Negroni spritz. It's a hit of get shit done, L-theanine, a touch of calm, passion flower, and ashwagandha, and blood orange, whose special characteristics include being fucking delicious.
Look at these hipster guys. Look at these.
I like that.
Swearing.
It's a hit of get shit done, but you probably couldn't get it stocked in like supermarkets if you didn't like asterisk out that shit, you know, and the effing delicious.
Effing delicious.
Yeah.
Oh, I should actually use that in my captions. Effing, that's better. But this theanine, the L-theanine.
L-theanine. That might be your nootropics there.
I think
Maybe
so.
That's a nootropic.
Must be something caffeinated.
Do you reckon?
Well, for you to be getting shit done.
Oh, true.
Right.
We could look this up, but I don't want to. I don't want to break the flow of the podcast.
No, I know. It's got 28.9 milligrams
of caffeine.
Of theanine.
Theanine.
And does it have some comment around caffeine? No.
It doesn't. So it doesn't. It's got L-theanine and the extracts. I don't know, mate. What do you reckon about the taste?
L-theanine.
And
it sounds like
extract.
It's Spanish. L-theanine.
It's a Spanish. Yeah, it's like a bullfighter. L-theanine, and he's like, he's in a part. It's a trans man. There used to be their dead name is Thea. You know.
What? Okay, you chose to take it. Fair enough.
I don't know why I went in that direction, mate. Thea's
fair.
a girl's name. That's all I've got.
All right, done. L-theanine. Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
L-theanine.
yeah.
All right, L-theanine. In terms of taste, I think it's tasty, but I suppose I do love Negronis.
Yeah, it's not quite a Negroni, is it? It's something a bit different.
Spritz. I suppose I guess what I would like from it is something a little bit more bitey.
Yeah, it's tough with I drink a lot of the beers, and it's tough with the spirit substitute or the RTDs kind of substitute things because they never quite have the bite. What did you drink when you would?
What does RTD stand
for? Oh, ready to drink. Sorry.
RTD. Oh,
ready
like a gin and tonic.
Yeah. Like the canned things. Yeah.
RTD.
Yeah, I don't know what other thing to call them.
Like it's only saving one syllable there. Fair enough.
You're absolutely right. I don't know how to loop them all into one. What would you call them?
RTDs.
Cheap drinks.
Cheap drinks.
No, chick drinks.
Oh, chick drinks.
Do you know what I mean? It's not better.
But a bitch is drinking whiskey and cola from the can. Is that a chick drink?
Absolutely
no,
not.
it's
that's why
dudes.
RTD is better.
RTD. Okay, so it sounds more.
It's ready to
tough.
Ready to drink, bro.
Ready to drink, bro.
What did you drink before? I didn't know you quit, man. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, because I did 2020, no alcohol, no drugs, completely sober. It's also when I stopped weed.
Nice.
So I don't touch weed anymore. I've had 3 moments where I have, but this year I decided no more alcohol. My last, it was in Australia. I had a good little splurge here. Accidentally stumbled across a bag of MD one night whilst drinking heavily.
Result.
Boom. That was the, 2 days of great catching up with friends and, consumption.
Really just listening.
Oh, so much listening and thigh stroking.
Yeah.
And so I decided, and then it was my stepbrother's birthday, and my mum was just she's always like, Anna, you want to have the wine with me? And I'm kind of like her enabler.
Yeah.
And I ended up just being the when you're you've got the sibling that always finishes off everyone else's meal. I'm like the rubbish bin for
with
alcohol.
all the drinks. Dude, I was totally that person when I used to drink. Yeah, I would be like, it's an offense to leave a drink unfinished. What are you doing?
Right. So I'd be like, I'll finish off the Chardonnay, Mum. Oh, there's still a glass of Pinot. Okay.
Yeah.
But by the end of this dinner, I didn't feel drunk. I'd consumed probably a bottle of Prosecco, like half a bottle of Chardonnay. And
there's that Europe in you coming out. The Prosecco.
Overpronouncing shit. I do speak Italian in my defense.
Okay, nice. That's still good.
I don't Prosecco, a bottle of Proseccs, some Shardy, and half a bottle of Pinot, and I didn't feel drunk. And it's one of you get to that point where you're like, doesn't matter how much I consume, I'm not even enjoying the alcoholic benefits.
It's just
now.
It's just like an obligation that you have to society and the gods of booze to not leave it.
And my mother, exactly.
That's brutal that you call yourself a rubbish bin.
It's really how, And so I was like, I think I'm done. And also my brother and his wife were pregnant with their fourth child that just got born, was born last week. And so they were sober. And then I was like, you know what? This is how I'm going to bring in the new year. And then I got the spot in Melbourne at Voltaire on the 1st of the 1st. And I had a party I could have gone to in Castlemaine on the 31st. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go to that party, and I'm going to have breakfast with my nieces and nephew.
Nice.
And I'm going to be fresh, and then I'm going to be fresh for that spot that I'm so hungry for because I haven't done enough comedy since I've been in Australia visiting. And so started the new year fresh and clean.
That's sick. And you've just not gone back to it?
Not gone back.
That's great, man. Good for you.
What I do instead of alcohol is hard drugs though.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. I was talking to Luca before on another episode about how like I don't. Were you just sniffing that? You're just getting a waft.
I'm taking in the botanicals.
I should have got us little glasses, hey.
Maybe
to open up the textures.
Let it breathe,
I was talking to Luca about how like I don't drink, but I still do drugs, but the drugs were never the thing for me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this kind of, I don't know, shame or guilt or like I'm not doing it properly. Because I do the hard drugs, or I mean, I don't, like, I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. But, like, I guess doing a podcast and being like, I'm sober, in my mind, there are these critical voices of people going, like, you're not even doing it right. Do you, what do you think about that?
I think that alcohol is way too supported, too accessible, encouraged, and deeply entrenched in every culture around the world, that to stop drinking is a big thing and it needs to be commended. Sober, sadly, it's not the right word. And so when I do tell people, oh no, I'm sober, I'm like, but I take drugs.
Yeah.
And I do, and I follow it up with that quite quickly because I do feel like it's a misrepresentation.
Sure.
But I don't feel guilty in any way because I know that drug use without alcohol. Good little burpee. Oh,
I feel better.
Yeah, that great. Good. The drug use that you do without alcohol is so different.
Yeah.
Like you're not like, there's no overconsumption at all.
Yeah, totally. You do it and then you wait for it to come on and you feel it and you can enjoy it or not or whatever.
Yeah.
You're much more present for it.
And you're able to go, oh, I'm tired. I'm good now.
Yeah.
You do one little line and then you're like, all right, well, the conversation's starting to deteriorate and I'm feeling a bit tired. I'm going to go home and still get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, totally.
And,
the dream. Yeah, you don't really get the like Tuesday sad, what's it called again? Tuesday blues.
I don't really touch MDMA anymore.
Okay.
Like that does give me still an emotional come down.
Uh-huh.
But the moral come down and the feeling of moral come down with alcohol. Mm-hmm. With alcohol, that's the thing. It's moral of like, what did I say to that person? Yeah. Oh, I ran into my ex. What did I? Oh, did I? Oh no! And then the waking up and feeling sluggish because alcohol does make you. It's like you can, once you've stopped doing it for a while and then you drink it, you can feel like you can feel the poison element of it in your body, I think. And it's like, oh, it's slowing me down. It's taking my energy. It's making me sleepy. And then it's making me sluggish.
Yeah.
And so the moral come down also of I consume this thing and that's now affecting but I got to a point where I was just always hungover, so you don't really notice it.
Yeah, totally. So can we go back, because you grew up in Brighton, when did you start drinking? Let me talk about how you're a rich fucking bitch again.
Fair.
When did you start drinking? Was it in school? What was the deal there? What were you drinking?
So I was drinking pretty solidly in school. My brother got me drinking very early because I would want to hang out with him. And so in order to hang out with him, he'd be like, well, then like skull this VB.
Right.
And I was like 11 or 12 and I'd be like, okay.
Wow.
And so I'd skull the, and then like, my parents' liquor cabinet, he'd be like, all right, well, fuck, like finish this bottle of white wine and then like you can hang out and play PlayStation with me.
Oh, wow. What do you reckon that was about? That's wild.
And then I've lost contact with my father because of talking about this, but during the divorce, so like around that time, my dad was drinking quite a lot, and so then I started I started drinking quite a lot because that was definitely part of the culture of my family at that point. My brother was drinking, my dad was drinking, and so I've got some pretty bad experiences in high school of getting super wasted. My stepdad actually just brought up a memory, which is very clear for me, but clearly not. He actually had to carry me out of a party and I'd lost my skirt.
Oh, wow.
And twigs, dirt in my hair.
From dancing?
I wish.
Right.
Found the
that
skirt.
Was an insane question. Why you're dancing? Were you just having too much wholesome fun? What the fuck is wrong with me?
Best part of that story was found the skirt. It was around my waist.
Thank God.
Thank God. I know. I wouldn't have wanted to lose that skirt, but I left the party in my boyfriend's shorts. He gave me his shorts.
Yeah.
And vomited out of the car the whole way home.
Wow.
And then straight into the shower. Woke up to mum banging on the door, and I was like asleep on the shower floor. And then went to bed, and mum comes in to check up on me, and she's like, Anna, what's on your head? I'm like, oh, I've wrapped my hair in a towel. And she's like, no, it's your jacket. So I was that wasted that
sick. You thought you were like in the shower, wrap your hair in a towel.
It was my jacket.
Yeah. So you don't talk to your dad anymore?
He won't talk to me.
About that
he won't talk to me.
He won't talk to you.
I did the Adelaide Fringe to give our relationship a try, like to be like, hey, you came to Europe and didn't visit Berlin, or even tell me the first time you visited Europe that you were coming. So this trip right now is the first time 7 years in Berlin that I have paid for myself to come to Australia.
Yeah, right.
All the other times my parents have paid for it. And this is the first time I've come on my own back. And so I was like, you know what, if I'm coming to Australia, doing the festival in Melbourne, I'll do the Adelaide Fringe so I can see my dad. And I'm going to go there and give us the chance to have some coffees and, just like talk right after I'd booked the flights, I messaged him and I noticed that he was no longer a friend of mine on Facebook.
That's crazy.
And like 2 months before that, or a month before that, I'd heard from my brother that he'd listened to my podcast and he was very upset with stuff that I'd said about my childhood.
Right. Interesting.
So, so I'd reached out being like, hey, sounds like we need to chat. No response. And the next time I was like, hey, coming to Adelaide. Oh, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, right.
And then I sent an email to him before I went to Adelaide being like, I'd really like to talk, and no response.
No response. How are you with that? Are you okay?
Adelaide was tough for the first 3 days because I realized I hadn't emotionally processed that I went there for that relationship.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, I know no one here. I have never really liked Adelaide because it's associated with that, with like his wife, my dad's wife, and like all of that kind of trauma around. Trauma's a bit of a strong word, but yeah, I guess like childhood sadness of my dad moving to Adelaide away from my brother and I. And so I always kind of resented Adelaide, and being in Adelaide being like, oh wow, dad really isn't going to see me.
Yeah, like it really sinks in, huh?
And I was like, what am I doing?
How old were you when he left?
Like after the divorce, he was in Melbourne. It wasn't till he moved to Sydney first, and that was like when I was maybe like 13 or 14. And then from Sydney, he was like, oh, we thought about moving to Melbourne, but we decided to move to Adelaide with my wife's family. And I was like, okay. And so that was like, from about 15.
So he really just in the middle of your like important years, I mean, your parents split up, that's hard.
Yeah.
And he was just like, well, I'm going my own way.
Yeah.
Was there any, was there an option for you to go there with him or anything like that? Nah.
And also his wife wasn't a big fan of
us
generally. So
man, that's so hard. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
That really sucks. Well, I'm seeing so many parallels in my shit because like actually my dad, like my stepdad, not even my biological dad, but my stepdad, I said some things that he was unhappy about on my podcast a few years ago, and we fought about it, and it was hard because we don't have a good speaking relationship and openness and whatever. But thankfully, we were able to get past it. The first time I called him, it was in my special on YouTube. I called him and I said, I'm sorry. And he was like, that's all right. Anyway, we got a dog, and just like didn't talk about it. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's how we talk. And then a few months later, I realized, called him again, and his partner in the kitchen was like, Aidan, I knew when he hung up, I was like, Derek, I don't think that's what he wanted to talk about, like the dog. So she knew, but she had to come and kind of sit there with him and like be there to hold his hand through the difficult discussion, because me and him never really spoke. But like, that's a bit of sliding doors for me, Like I feel, I'm sorry to like whatever, but I feel like really grateful that my dad and I were able to push through that, because very easily I could have had that experience that you're just telling me.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you because conflict builds intimacy, right? Or, and trust and relationship.
Yeah, pushing through it.
And so that's so cool that you had that. Like that's like I've done a lot of talking with my mom and my brother and thinking about how this could resolve. And the reality is, like, without going into too many details, I really don't see how my dad and I will ever sort of resolve this, because he doesn't want to acknowledge what happened. And I've tried to talk to him in the past, like in my early 20s, tried to have a conversation about it, and it didn't go well. And now it's the same thing. And, if he's not willing to sort of see what happened and acknowledge it, then there's
what is it? What's the thing that happened? Him leaving?
It wasn't him leaving so much as the kind of behavior that I experienced as a child
when he was
around
drunk.
him. Yeah,
when he was drinking,
that stuff, and then also with his wife. And that's so great that your stepdad's new partner is supportive of your relationship and wanting to champion that, because my dad's wife not a fan of me, and also that whole that history that I'm talking about involves behavior from her as well. And they're still together, of course, and they do not want to look at it.
Does the way that, like, does drinking for you, is it like tied to all of that? Like, if your dad was a drinker and then your brother got you into it, like, what was your first drinking times? Like, what was that like? Like, you go to this party, whatever. Are you drinking by yourself? Are you like going out partying? Are you drinking to get drunk, or are you just drinking for fun?
Yeah, I think first experiences were definitely like outside of those ones with my brother where he's like, finish the VB, skull it. Or it was at parties, and it was drinking in a loose, fun social dynamic. And I've always been a drinker in that way. Definitely there's been some like self-harming drinking moments where it's like, I'm going to finish this bottle of rum to like just not feel anything.
Yeah.
There was that. But that hasn't been like, that's been like little tiny moments of like crisis in my life. That isn't my relationship with alcohol at all. And I genuinely, and I think anyone who argues it too much, I have a good relationship with alcohol. Why are you arguing so hard?
Totally.
But I do, like, I have, and I have, like, for the last year had like a big bottle of good vodka and some vermouth, and I'll have like beers in the house. I just don't touch them. It's just the reason why I've stopped drinking is because I'm at a comedy club or a bar every night. I get free alcohol. Yeah. There's always a reason to celebrate or commiserate.
Yeah.
And I just I want to stop the conversation because I've got stuff to do.
Man, that's totally it. The same thing. The conversation, the idea of like bargaining with yourself. Do I drink now? Am I going to drink later? Or what the fuck? Yeah. When I decided to quit was a morning that I woke up and I had the idea, what if I didn't drink again, full stop? And it was like a weight lifted. Right. I was like, that's an option.
Think about it anymore.
Yeah, I could just not do it at all.
I can feel like it's such a relief.
The relief, man.
I love it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just creates all this space and removes all this noise.
Yeah.
And it's just like, easy peasy.
I think what you just said about as well though, like, those few times when like you'd have a bottle of vodka and you're just like, I'm going to drink this whole thing because fuck this. Yeah. I do this thing where I'm really unwilling to give something like to admit that something has power over me, to be like, I did that because I wanted to not feel this, or I did that for, I'm like, no, man, I did that because it was cool. I wanted to. Like, I did it because I'm sick.
Fun. Like, it's cool.
I did it because I'm fucking dope. and you don't get it.
Because you're not cool.
Like, I think when I was younger, I was obsessed with this idea of like, but you know, my favorite writers were all drinkers, and like, there's
Hunter S. Thompson,
Kerouac, and fucking.
There's still some of my favorites though.
Yeah. I say Kerouac, but
Steinbeck.
actually, On the Road is like mostly fucking, you know, it's gibberish, and the rest of his stuff also sucks.
Yeah, I'm not a big Kerouac fan, but like Bukowski,
amazing.
Steinbeck.
Yeah, the best.
Yeah. They're like.
Oh, maybe we should end this with my favorite Bukowski poem. But anyway, we were a while off ending it yet.
Okay.
I love Bukowski.
I love it. I'm finally reading Post Office right now.
Oh, Post Office. I mean, all of it's so good.
All of it's so good.
Dude.
So good. Such tasty lit.
Yeah, tasty lit. What the fuck? Come on, mate. Tasty lit.
I'm sorry.
So, but I remember being like 19 when I first moved out of home. She's falling to pieces. She's absolutely lost the plot. Tasty lit has Anna Beros on the floor.
Oh, just the shame. Okay. So you remember when you were when?
Well, I was 19. I moved out of home for the first time I was working at a nightclub in Adelaide, Red Square on Hindley Street. And the owners were like, I guess, 40 or something. And they were like best mates. They just bought a place that they were going to subdivide and turn into, you know, flats or whatever.
Okay.
But they didn't have planning permission to knock it down yet. So me and two of the other bartenders, they were like, do you guys want to like live in this cool place? And like, we'll just take the money straight out of your pay. We won't even, so nothing was written down. We just got $100 out of our pay every week to live in this like place that we just graphed the walls. First time I ever took acid, I fucking found some paint in the shed, tipped it up in the living room, and then like my housemate ran around barefoot in the paint. And like, it was just mayhem. This place.
That sounds
chaos.
amazing.
At 19, it was sick.
Yeah,
dude.
fuck yeah.
And oh man, just so many. Like, I remember being so poor at one point, or not even poor, but just like unable to take control of my own life and figure out how to do anything. I remember having toast. I had a job. Like, I had plenty of money. I was doing drugs and drinking all the time. I had toast. I had no butter. So I got, you know, crushed garlic.
Yes.
I spread crushed garlic on my toast.
And then with Vegemite, that shit is
really?
Yeah.
Well, I never got to that stage. I just had the garlic solo.
Just rub a clove of garlic on hot toast and then Vegemite.
Really? Because the oil from the garlic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough. All right. I got to do that.
Maybe I'm not a loser.
Yep. This is a food podcast.
But when you said poor, it's just like you were poorly equipped to deal with freedom and to know how to look after
to know
yourself.
what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like I remember one time, me and my housemate, we got a cab to IGA down the bottom of the hill. It's probably like a 20-minute walk to the end of the road. And got the cab to wait for us while we did our grocery shopping, then got the cab back and then did a runner.
Oh, you assholes. Oh, my
God. No, it wasn't even the runner because she was so loose. I was like, we don't have money to do the runner, but like, I guess we'll try. And she was messing with the guy's like back of his head. We were drunk and it was fucked. So she was like poking the guy in the back of the head and then she turned it into that it was his fault and got really angry at him and was like, we're not paying. And was like, come on, Taco, we're not paying. And like,
oh my God, you scoundrels.
Yeah, I actually haven't thought about that in ages. I feel like
you feel
I got
guilty?
some guilt about that.
Yeah. Drunk guilt.
But one night I was in this relationship that was on again, off again, and we just kept breaking up. And we broke up one night and I came home from the club and it was like 10 a.m. and I was sitting on the kitchen floor with a bottle of vodka and some pills. I just ate some pills and was scrawling.
When you say pills, you mean like...
Oh, like ecstasy.
Ecstasy.
Yeah. No. I wasn't trying to commit suicide or anything.
No.
No.
Fun
I was
pills.
just trying to get messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a paint pen and I just wrote Born Alone, Die Alone like 100 times, like over and over again in big and small and everything on the linoleum of our kitchen floor. Just like sitting on the floor, Born Alone, Die Alone, because I was listening to Nas. There's a lyric, Born Alone, Die Alone, no crew to keep my crown, I think, whatever. And my housemate,
so cool,
that girl came home and just sees me on the floor surrounded by Born Alone, Die Alone. And I'm like, and she just, I remember her looking at me and going, oh, Taco. But just this idea when I did it, I was like, man, I'm like a romantic, I'm a writer.
Oh my God.
This is what I do.
It is beautiful though.
Yeah.
Do you think about writing a book?
Yeah, little bits. I actually wrote a couple novellas earlier on in my comedy career. I had a show where I lived with a con man in London for a while. He was telling people that he owned the flat when they moved in, and he was working for the agency who let the flat. So he told them no one was living there, and he told the people who moved in that he was the owner. So they paid him rent. And then I was the only one who knew because he was just a guy who lived there and I was there before him. Everyone else moved out. So everyone knew who moved in were like, he owns the flat. So they just paid him. And I wrote a blog about him every week in secret for like 3 months. And it covered the period where they found out, and then he got arrested, and then he came back and he like barricaded himself in the flat. It was this whole thing.
Oh my
and
God.
I printed that. That was when I was living in London. That was 2015. And the cafe I worked for paid for me to get it printed as like a little 44-page novella, and I would sell them for gold coin donations in the flat. And
Cool.
then, in the cafe.
Yeah.
And then in the flat.
I was like, you turned it into a museum? Was he like behind bars in his room?
And then that was the first solo hour I ever did. I did 4 dates at 2016 Edinburgh Fringe, took it back for the month in 2017, and then 2018 Melbourne Comedy Festival. That was my first solo show.
Fuck,
It's called the Abersham Flat. But yeah, I sold that. I think I sold like 400 copies of that thing.
That's 400 gold coins.
400 gold British sterling coins.
Gold sterling. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've written stuff.
But then I tried to follow it up with another one the next year, and it was just garbage. I tried to write like a different thing, and it was fucking sucked.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
I'm starting to, this is writing something that's not supposed to be funny and getting kind of like poetic.
Serious, right, lit, if you will.
Lit, yes, indeed. I'm not repeating that phrase. But really, because I love words. We love words.
We all love words. We use them.
Yeah, we
They're
use
our
them.
mates.
Yeah, they are our mates. Okay, cool. Yeah, mine's going to be more like romantic, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, little vignettes on love.
Right, like one of those Mills and Boon Kmart books that you read like as a lonely housewife on a train.
Definitely like masturbation fodder.
Yeah. Nice.
Did you ever?
I was going to say, yeah. Would you ever write like erotic? I wrote an erotic thing for a girl once. It was like 2,000 words, but like we were apart, and it was just like a fantasy of if we were together, and it was received reasonably well.
Okay.
Yep.
I started an audio play in the pandemic with a very good writer in Berlin. He's the head writer of Comedy Central Germany, actually.
Woo!
And we started because we both have like low kind of voices, and so we wanted to make a comedy porn. And so we wrote like the first 3 episodes and then recorded the first one.
How was that?
Super fun, man. Like trying to make sex sexy and with comedy
With
in it.
funny. I don't like to laugh when I'm fucking.
I only like I always laugh after I come. This is not for this your
That's
podcast.
That's really funny. That's super funny, dude.
Yeah. And like laughing during sex is it's like it can throw you off, but it needs to be in the right way, like in the right moment.
Yeah. I feel like there's a level of like when I've been having sex with someone and they've laughed, I'm like, you're unhinged. I feel uncomfortable now. I don't feel safe anymore.
You got to be careful with it.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, exactly. And I think men can get very I think and even
we're
women
fragile flowers.
But even women as well. It's like, why are you laughing? And it's like, it's not because your body's funny or you're failing.
It's because I saw a bird.
It's just because I just thought of your dad or
Yeah, right. Okay. Nice. And so, all right. So, where did we get to? You were drinking. I kind of want to wrap us up now. You've decided to not drink. What was that decision?
What was it? Like, it's the like.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, the shame stuff.
The shame stuff. Hold on, what? The shame stuff about?
Yeah, the waking up in the morning.
Oh yeah, the moral hangover.
Is what, that's a really neat phrase. I like that.
Yeah. So it's that, and it's also like alcohol is very bad for the body, right? And if I do want to have kids.
Yeah.
I need my body to I managed to stop smoking finally 3
years
ago.
Good for you.
A year and a bit ago.
That's hard.
Yeah. and like stopping the weed smoking 3 years ago or more now. And so alcohol as well. It's like, it's not good for the body all the time drinking it. Removing the conversation and it's only on alcohol, like it's only with alcohol that I make also bad decisions.
Yeah, sure. That's one, isn't it? Noticing not every time you drink you make bad decisions, but every time you make bad decisions, hey, I was drinking.
Absolutely.
Isn't that weird?
Is it? Yeah. And like the worst things I've ever done in my life have been with alcohol.
Same.
Like that like sick shame of like, oh my God, and like who you've hurt.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
And how you feeling about being sober at the moment? Good?
I love it.
Yeah?
Being in Melbourne is a bit triggering because I've never been sober in Melbourne.
I feel like that's a part of it. I say in my show at the moment, like when I quit, I had to learn how to do everything again that I used to do while I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You just, for the first year, it feels like every situation you're in, you're like, this is the first time I've done this sober, this and this and this.
Yeah.
But after a while, you have reference for everything
Mm-hmm.
and you have a bit more of a foundation of your sobriety, you know?
Yeah. Like me being at Bar Open Saturday
That's
night.
a classic.
Smoky, dancing, and it's just like, whoa. Thank God for the smoke machine right now, because it's all so very confronting, and like these spaces that I've got so many layers of memory. And also just like everyone's drinking.
Everyone's drinking.
I've noticed in Australia doing my in my solo, I talk about my sobriety in 2020, and I check in with the audience if anyone's done sobriety before.
Yeah.
And it's always just for like a cup. It'll be like one person, and it's always just for medical reasons.
Right. Is there more in Berlin?
Yeah.
Really?
Europe, there's heaps of people that are sober.
Interesting. That's cool, man.
Yeah, and alcohol-free beer was like really everywhere,
big thing.
like ages ago.
Yeah.
Like in 22, like it's just not hard to not drink.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I like that.
So
you're loving it.
I am loving it.
Yeah, sick. And you're very new. So
I'm
like quitting drinking fully.
Fully, like to be like, I'm not, well, the thing is I will drink again
Yeah,
if I'm a mum.
Yeah.
Only
That's so
because,
funny. Once you become a mum, you're like, I'm going to hit it.
Well, I feel like if I'm at, a dinner party with my kid, like going off to the bathroom and doing a little bump of K is going to be less socially acceptable.
Yeah, totally.
Having a glass of wine and then wrapping it up and going home and being fresh
Yeah,
for my
you're a
child.
yummy mummy at that point. There's a word for that kind of behavior.
Exactly. Yummy mummy. I was going to bring it back to tasty, but let's not.
Well, you know what is good for your body, mate? Nootropics.
Nootropics.
What do you think of this?
I like it.
Would you rate it out of 5? Taste?
Taste, I would go. Can I do points?
You can, but I'm going to go a 3.
Yeah, I was going to go 3.5
Yeah.
to be nice.
I don't like. I just don't know if I'm the person to be marketing these two. But the beers, man, they're like
I love
godsend.
beers. But the thing is, if you had this on ice, it would get so watery.
Right.
It doesn't have enough of it needs to have a bit more of a Campari, and I know it's alcohol free.
Some kind of tartness or bitterness or some kind of thing.
Some depth.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. Would you? I was when I was doing my alcohol free reviews, like on Instagram, I was doing packaging and cool.
Mm-hmm.
Packaging's all right for like it tells you what it is. You know what it is.
Yeah, it feels a little kid-like, but that's
kid-like.
A bit kid-like.
Yeah, okay. To be honest, if this wasn't an alcohol-free drink, because that's marketed to like adults, but you could drink this as a child.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be maybe they're going for the wrong market. Maybe the market is get kids into drinking earlier. Yeah. Normalize alcohol use for young children.
Well, I don't know if nootropics, I don't know if L-theanine is any good for children either. But yeah, this could actually just be the gateway drug.
Yeah. Why don't they change it to like, methylene or something to do with school? That was a horrific joke.
I'm sorry.
I felt it bomb as it left my fucking body.
But also, and now it distracted me. But it's a gateway. It's gateway Negroni.
Yeah, and would you? The cool is like, how would you feel if you were drinking this at a party?
I'd feel pretty average.
You're right. You wouldn't feel like if someone was like, "What are you drinking there?"
Yeah, I'd be like, "Oh, it's this. You want to try?"
Yeah, it's one of these.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Because I feel like when I'm drinking a really good alcohol-free thing, I'm like, this is sick.
Yeah, I get
You know?
super excited about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
alcohol
yeah.
free. Like it tastes like an actual XPA, and or it's like
Yeah. That's true. This doesn't taste like the thing that it says it tastes like.
Exactly.
Yeah, this doesn't
Exactly.
taste like a Negroni, and I don't think that's that it tastes bad, but it's just like it's hard to taste like a Negroni when you don't have alcohol.
Yeah, I'm friends with a woman in Germany whose grandfather created the process of making alcohol-free wine.
Oh,
His name
cool.
is actually Carl Jung,
No way.
genuinely. And they still have the vineyard, and she gave me some and this rosé, and it tastes like wine.
Nice.
It tastes like wine.
I got to come out there and try some of that
Yes.
when I'm in Germany.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool, man. Fuck yeah.
I'll invite you to a bottle.
Please. Do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
Yes, I would like to plug my Insta. Well, I guess my podcast is Adults Only Comedy Berlin. Just had Aidan on
We
it.
just did an episode of it fucking before this.
Exactly. And then my Instagram where I post stuff is AF Beros.
Nice.
Nice.
And you're doing comedy around Europe normally?
Yes, based
Yeah.
in Berlin. So if you come to Berlin, I run a bunch of shows and then I tour around Europe as well.
Sick. And for me, follow me on aidanjonescomedy.com. My other podcast, Sitting Under a Tree. I got specials on YouTube. I got a whole bunch of stuff. And on my website, you'll find all of my tour dates. I want to be in Edinburgh in August and then through Europe probably after that.
Where do we find that novella?
Oh, that novella. Oh, man. You know what? I should post it. It's theabershamflat.blogspot.com. Theabershamflat.blogspot.com. Have a sus. Thank you guys very much for listening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks,
been a
mate.
pleasure.
I
Thank
don't know,
you.
that was
That
just
was
me
so
just
weird.
fucking weird. I'm Aidan Jones. I'm still not drunk.
Woo!